here. There we go. Welcome to FBB Forum. I'm very pleased to welcome the stunning IFBB Pro women's bodybuilder, Leah Dennie. Leah has been competing in bodybuilding since 2014 and recently competed in her first Olympia this past December. Thank you very much for joining me, Leah. It's really great to have you here. And like I said, I've been following your bodybuilding career for a long time, so thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So I was curious in terms of getting started in bodybuilding, did you have an athletic or sports background before you started?
I did. So I probably started when I was about 6 or 7 years old and
Mhm.
started in gymnastics, but wasn't a very good gymnast, but did learn a lot of body weight movements where I did handstand push-ups and pull-ups and dips and a lot of body weight exercises, which kind of started me into the love of sports. But I did play volleyball, basketball, track in high school, and then got a collegiate scholarship to the Air Force Academy. Played 4 years at the Air Force Academy, was an All-American setter,
Wow.
and played rugby, a club rugby for a season at the academy as well when I was a senior.
Wow, that's
Marathon for a few years, and so I've pretty much always been in sports.
wow, that's terrific. That's really cool. Women's rugby, that's kind of interesting. I have seen that. I've seen it on TV, I believe. That's kind of neat to get involved in that.
Yeah, we were the Air Force Academy. They were the national champions my junior year, and then my senior year when I was able to play after the collegiate season was done, then we took third in the nation then. So
Wow, that's awesome. That's so
great
cool.
sport. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, it is. It's really interesting watching them too. It's neat. And it's you don't get as much padding as like football, when you're
None. Yeah. Actually broke my nose. I was like, that was
really?
tough. Yeah.
Oh no, that's not good. Um, Now, I was curious, how did you get started in bodybuilding and who convinced you to do your first contest?
So I think probably went back to high school where I was looking at Corey, on stage, and those were my high school years, and then later into Linda Murray timeframe. But I used to lift with the football team, and because I needed to jump high because I'm short, and to play, I needed a collegiate scholarship in order to go uh, on to college, and started
Sure.
weight training pretty heavily to where we were maxing out every Friday, and I just loved it.
Wow.
And so I would get teased a lot because I was muscular and stronger than a lot of men.
Uh-huh.
So, our football team was actually very strong, but a lot of the other guys, I could outbench them and out
Wow.
squat them. So that kind of got me thinking. And then I saw Corey and how beautiful the muscle was, and I was like, I want to do that someday.
Yeah. Yeah, Corey Everson, you're talking about? Yeah,
Yep.
she's amazing. Yeah. Um, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
52.
52. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I'm 49. So yeah, when I was growing up, I used to watch the shows on NBC and ESPN and yeah, I was just fascinated by those bodybuilding shows. And unfortunately those networks don't show them on TV anymore. I wish they did.
No. Yeah, that's one thing that's actually kind of a shame how it's become a different culture, I think, for bodybuilding, and it's so hard to do it really and to be good at it, but of course genetics play a big factor in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you look great on stage. That's great that you have that much weight training history. I'm sure that really helped you with succeeding in bodybuilding. Just having that almost muscle memory kind of thing. So yeah. I was curious. Did you have a fitness or bodybuilding role model when you first started competing, and do you have the same role model now?
I think always in the back of my mind, remembering Corey and then of course Linda Murray, I think just the feminine beauty, the muscle was just beautiful. Linda just had such nice full muscle bellies, and that was just someone I always wanted to be like, and fortunately was able to meet her in the last couple of years, which was fantastic. I met Corey probably 4 or 5 years ago,
Yeah.
And, just to see them, I think the elegance in the class. And, of course I've met Andrea, and she's just beautiful as well.
Yeah. She's awesome. Yeah, I've met Linda a few times, and I think she's a really great ambassador for the sport. And yeah, I was always really impressed with her. Even when she won like North Americans back in like '89, and I was just like blown away by her legs and everything. She just looked perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, one thing that I was thinking too is ESPN actually did, I think in 1991, live broadcast of Ms. Olympia. And of course, Linda was in that. And it was just like, I can't believe it. Yeah, there's no way they would do anything live with bodybuilding probably these days. I wish they would, but.
Yeah, a lot of the live streaming is fun, but yeah, I would love to turn on the TV and see something. That would be great.
Yeah, they showed cornhole on there. It's like, just dump the cornhole and show us some
Or
body.
tag, like all these tag games and everything you see when I'm in the gym. I'm like, okay, but bodybuilding is not seen as a sport or whatever.
I
Yeah,
know, it's ridiculous. And it's much more entertaining too to watch bodybuilding, I think.
sure.
um, I was curious, were you nervous when you first went up on stage in a bikini? And do you still get nervous on stage these days?
No, I don't think it's nervous. I think you need to have a little bit of nerves to know that you care about something, that it matters to you, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't say it was something that was different than when I played sports, just wanting to do your best and knowing that your preparation gets you ready. The
Yeah.
bikini, I think the funniest part of it is the first time I competed, I had no concept of what I was doing. And I had hired a person that was pretty well known in the area. And I just really wasn't guided very well. And I rented my suit, which was, $450 to rent it. And it was beautiful, but it said, do not alter it, do not do anything to it. Well, I didn't know the crisscross straps had to be looped and altered. So I finally put it on for the first time at the show. And I was like, is my butt going to fit in this? And, I was so careful thinking I was going to knock off all these Swarovski crystals. Um, and then it wouldn't connect because it wasn't fit to me. So my friend Tony
Oh.
McNurture, she's expediting backstage and trying to fix my suit so it'll be put on. And so that was more just the freak out of not knowing. I didn't know how to carb up. I didn't know anything. And I just literally went out there blind
Oh, wow.
and ended up taking third. And I was going, wow, that was fun. I thought I was just going to do this once, but now I got to do it again
Oh,
and
you got
know what I'm
hooked. Huh?
doing. So
Yeah. Yeah, be better. You feel better on stage once you know what you're doing too, and better to prepare. Yeah.
yeah, you don't want a wardrobe malfunction, but when you see your suit the first time, it's pretty small. And then I started realizing, yeah, it actually needs to be smaller. So
Oh. Oh yeah, that's a kind of a quite a startling realization, I bet. Yeah.
yeah, you're like, okay, you actually want more of your glutes out, not less. So
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, that's really cool. Yeah, I can see that being the first time though. That would be. I think that'd be a little intimidating. That's cool that you're comfortable with it.
yeah, I think I'm pretty easygoing that I go, okay, what's the worst that can happen?
Uh,
Doesn't fit exactly right. If that's your biggest worry, then you're probably doing pretty well.
yeah, that's not too bad. um, my next few questions are about kind of family and home life, and I was curious, what do your parents think about your fitness career, and are they supportive of it?
Yeah, so my mother, she's actually here right now visiting, but they all went to the Olympia. My mother, my sister, my
Great.
three children, I flew them out. And actually I didn't do this year, I did the year before in Orlando. That was my first and only trip to the Olympia, but it was just a family affair and it was great because that was the first time everyone actually saw me live on stage. So
Great.
of course your family's like, oh, you got robbed, and I was like, no, it's fine. Everything's great. I finished where I needed to finish and it was just fantastic to be there. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're supportive. I think at first it was hard because of the dieting and the food and stuff, but they were used to me always. My mom carted me to every sport known to man, and every training camp, and so that was pretty. She's pretty used to that.
Oh, so 2021 was your first one?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, that's terrific. Okay, I'm sorry I got that mixed up too.
No,
That's
it's
so
fine.
great that she's so supportive though.
Yeah, she lives in Florida, so she and my sister, so they drove up, and that was fun. So
Yeah, I'm really pleased that it's coming back to Orlando this year. So I hope that you can come back. I hope you qualify again. That'd be great.
yeah, I'm gonna have to try to find a show that I can get into between work and all sorts of other stuff going on. It's just hard to find time in the schedule.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, no, definitely hope you can come back. Um, yeah, and I went to the 2021 Olympia, and that was the first time I'd been to an Olympia before, and I was just impressed by the spectacle of it and the sound and the lights. And
Yeah.
the lights were actually like a little bit distracting. I thought it was like too much because but I still thought it was pretty nifty though. It's neat.
Yeah, I almost missed prejudging because I was in
Oh,
hair and makeup and they were a little behind. And I'm sitting there going, okay, trying to text other ladies and no one's responding. My family was driving in and asking where everything was. And so I was walking them in. And then I see everybody pumping up. I didn't have my suit on. I was like, oh my God, let's not miss prejudging. And
yeah,
that was hurry up and then get in line. And then we waited. And I was like, okay, I had enough time. I probably could have not been rushing so much, but it wouldn't have changed anything. It was just kind of like I'm miss on time and prepared, and to be running in going, okay, she's the jerk walking in at the last second. So,
oh, no, that must have been a little scary though.
oh yeah, I was got the blood pumping a little bit.
I bet, yeah. um, so now, do you have kids, and if so, are they supportive of your bodybuilding career too?
Yes, so I have 3 children, and my youngest is 22. And I have a 23-year-old and a 25-year-old. So yeah, they're very supportive, and I would say, my middle child doesn't understand as much. He has um, some special needs, but he's super excited when he got to go to the Olympia. But I don't think, he's like, okay, mom's on stage, and
Oh,
I don't get it, but it's fine.
oh,
And uh, but my daughter, she works out with me now,
oh,
so she'd be the perfect wellness competitor. She's just, beautiful.
really? Wow. Do you think she might do that?
Not yet, but I thought she probably when she was about 16, she might have, but uh she just finished college, so we'll see. So
That's great. That'd be kind of cool, like a kind of legacy bodybuilding kind of thing going
yeah,
on there.
yeah, she definitely has the good genetics for it. She's a lot smaller than me, through the waist and rib
Hmm.
cage, so she'd translate much better on stage than I would.
Really? That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. That'd be cool to do a show together, like a pro show together or something. That'd be neat.
Yeah. She better get started before I'm in the old folks home.
Oh yeah.
So,
I was thinking you're kind of like Sherry Priami because she has 3 kids, but she started bodybuilding after she had her kids too. So
yeah.
and I yeah, I mean it. Kind of looking back, do you think is that better for you? Was it better for you to do bodybuilding after kids, or do you think it would be tougher to have them to do bodybuilding before kids? I don't, if that makes
I
sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of it would come down to your time. And I mean, I worked out until I delivered all 3 of them. I was literally running, jumping, planting trees, digging ditches.
Hmm.
So I never really stopped working out. The problem is when you have 3, in a row, you carry
Yeah,
a little extra weight. And I think being older is harder to pull some of the fat off, but
yeah.
at the same time, the maturity of the muscle, the density of the muscle, I think there's an advantage
Hmm.
to being an older woman, and also maybe having gone through having children and stuff like that. I think I don't know if it changes the shape of your waistline and your rib cage, but I like to think that, maybe it does, but also
Yeah.
doing heavy squatting and
Mhm.
sports for years and years and years, when you're not thinking of the aesthetics of
Yeah.
your body, they're kind of counterproductive.
Yeah.
So if I started training with the idea of an aesthetic look, might
Yeah.
be different and maybe be less blocky now.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, I understand that.
So I
And
think it's training, babies, everything.
yeah, having children will change your body too. I mean,
Yeah.
your shape and everything. Yeah, that's true. But interesting. Um, I was curious, where do you live, and have you found that area to be supportive area for bodybuilding?
Yeah, so I live in Texas, in between Dallas and Fort Worth. So huge bodybuilding community here in Texas, and probably
Yeah.
one of the strongest states for all bodybuilding, and even growing more. We've got, my gym. I'll see a lot of Olympians in there just kind of passing through, and
Hmm.
Hani Rambod is training some people out of there while he's building his gym. So I'll see. It's not like some of the other gyms that are known for bodybuilders, but this one has a lot of people that visit.
That's great. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that the Texas Pro Show has really grown and has gotten a lot bigger, and that's a premier show, I would say now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I work that one, and I've worked it the last couple of years, and 3 years ago was a co-promoter before it changed its name. That was Southeast Texas Championship, had
Oh,
its first pro component, and then became the Texas Pro. So now Freddie and Sheila have done a great job bringing all the categories, except for women's bodybuilding. But I can understand, you know,
yeah.
there's just a ton of pros, and you got to make some decisions as a promoter.
Sure, I understand. Yeah, it'd be nice if they would open up to women's bodybuilding at that show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I was curious, do you find it hard to juggle like the demands of work life and bodybuilding and home life? It just seems like a lot to juggle.
Yeah, it is. Like for me, I guess Sherry, you brought her up, she has a profession as well. And I'm a pharmaceutical rep. So I work with oncology products and
Mm-hmm.
doing that job and studying. And when I was in training, I started a new job, a new company, probably about 15, 16 months ago. And I was actually interviewing during the Olympia check-ins, the athlete check-ins. I was on the phone interviewing for the current position I have. And I was all like, oh my God, okay, I really want this job. And my job is what allows me to do my hobby.
Yeah.
So, but I'm at the Olympia, which is kind of my job right now. So it was hard to do it. But I was like, I'm not passing up this job with this great company.
Wow.
And so I asked, who's now my manager, I'm like, do you mind if I do my initial interview with some background noise? And I was just, sitting at the table trying to put on mute and stuff. It was funny. But
Wow.
yeah, but juggling, I've actually 2 or 3 times, actually at Rising Phoenix, once I stepped off stage and went straight into an interview for work. And so I
Wow.
just make it work.
Yeah. Boy, that would be high pressure being doing an interview when you're getting ready for the Olympia like that. Just like I'd be a bundle of nerves, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to some people get so hyper focused on one part of their life. And yes, bodybuilding takes a lot of time and dedication, but I find that when you have a lot of free time, you wander. And if you're busy, you prioritize, you do the things you need to do.
Mhm.
So, I'll do my cardio at 5:15 in the morning and my weight training after work, 6, 7 at night. And then when I am in season and have to add extra cardio at night, I'll do that right before bed.
Mhm.
And I have a exercise bike at home. And so I'll do gym in the morning, gym after work, and then do some more cardio at night at home. And
Mhm.
then do my job in between. And,
Uh-huh.
fortunately my kids are now grown, but
Yeah.
still have to do some things with family and with my middle. child and stuff. So, you know, do some extra things with him.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I guess it helps that they're grown now though too. So that does make a difference. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the info. Now my next few questions are about competition prep and coaching, and I was just curious, what is the toughest aspect of competition prep for you?
Giving up peanut butter.
Oh, aha.
That's really hard. Just because unfortunately love Gina, my coach, she gives me a little peanut butter and I was like, okay, so define a tablespoon, because a tablespoon to me is like as much as you can fit on a tablespoon
Uh-huh.
and not just an actual tablespoon. So it's pretty dangerous. So I think that's pretty hard to know that, okay, things that you crave, you can't have as much as you want,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I can always, I think the hardest part for me is eating carbohydrates, knowing for so many years I didn't eat them. And then now the last 2 or 3 years, having to incorporate them, that it's hard for me to see my body grow because I
Yeah.
spent my whole life trying not to grow, you
Yeah.
know? And so
Sure.
it's such a different mindset. So I think like right now being in off season, it's hard for me to see myself and think, you know, I'm gonna make it to stage, even though I know I will.
Yeah.
It's hard to see the 20 pounds difference, you know, it's hard.
I understand. In terms of the more carbs because you're in women's bodybuilding division now, do you mean?
Yeah, I think it's the philosophy of the coach. And when I was in women's physique, and I remember when I went pro, my one of my coach slash dietitians had two, and she was like, "What did you eat?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I totally sneaked like some rice cakes, like 2 rice cakes or something. And she's like, "Oh my God, you're gigantic now." And I was like, I look great. Or what are you kidding? I mean, I was shredded. And she's like, "You have to be as small as you can. You
Hmm.
cannot fill your muscle in at all. You've got
Hmm.
to stay small." And
Hmm.
so in my mind, I was like, okay, carbohydrates bad. And I only got them after prejudge. And then she gave me a hamburger and French fries. And then I was just like, you know, it was so weird.
Yeah,
So
I
my
understand.
whole women's physique was hold it back, hold it back, hold it back. Do not eat any carbs. And I was always, you know, fat based and a little bit of carbs here and there, but you know,
Yeah.
it was different. And then when I won New York with Dave Palumbo, it was, you know, he would give me cheat meals every week, pretty
Hmm.
much the entire prep, but, you know, definitely keto, which I love. I love
Yeah.
that kind of dieting. And then
Uh-huh.
when I switched over to using carbs, I was like, whoa, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, I understand that. I remember that's something Melissa Tyke had mentioned recently because she's switching from physique to bodybuilding, but she said she's glad she won't have to hold back anymore, you know, and I think there is a bit of holding back you have to do in physique to keep within that kind of guidelines, I guess. But yeah, that makes sense. Hmm. Yeah.
That's your structure. I mean, you know, I've been around and been part of backstage work and, you know, going through some clinics to teach about the judging criteria and stuff.
Hmm.
It's hard just because your genetics really dictate where you're going to be.
Hmm.
And some people can do everything, you know, possible, and they're not going to grow. They're not going to be able to bring up lagging body parts. It's just the way they're made or their genetics. Other people, super responders. So you can grow out of a category, or you can think you're one category and you're not even close. You know, no, you got to go here because your shape's wrong, your density's wrong, whatever.
Hmm.
So it's really about, I think sometimes we hold ourselves back listening to others, but if you just allow your body to do what it's going to do,
Hmm.
then you go, okay, well, you're going to slide over to this category now because that's where you fit better.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's good advice actually. Yeah, that's good. I've heard other folks say something similar too. Um,
Yeah.
um, I was curious. who is your prep coach now, and I was curious if you could give advice on to up and coming competitors about who are looking for a good coach. Like, what qualities are you looking for?
Yeah, Gina Cavallero is my coach. She just retired from women's bodybuilding.
Yeah,
Um,
I heard about that. Yeah, due to health
yeah,
issues, I think. Yeah.
so she and I connected at New York. So the year after I won New York Pro, so that was what, 20, was it 2022? Yeah, it must have been 2022. And I
Mhm.
was prepping with a different coach and for Atlanta, and I had a little bit of hiccup there and some miscommunications and such. And I just was like, you know, I'm pretty straightforward. I'm simple. I'm like, you don't have to pay a lot of attention to me, but I need to hear back, in a timely manner. So I would
Mhm.
say the best advice I could give, Gina is probably the best coach I've ever worked with because
Really?
she's super attentive. She writes the workout plans, which, I've coached people before and I wrote workout plans, but she was on it. She would text me, call me, hit the app, do everything. And she was just really engaged. And I'm kind of the person it's hard. I don't want to take people's time. I just want to you tell me what to do, I'll do it. We'll communicate. But yeah, she was on me and that helped a lot and in a good way. So I would say advice to others is don't always chase the biggest name, or if you look at, the reason I chose the coach I did before her was before he got really popular. I just kind of liked the look of the girls he was working with. I knew those girls or
Mhm.
those women, and I thought, okay, well, I just need someone to be another set of eyes on me, maybe try something a little different because
Mhm.
your body adapts so easily.
Yeah.
Uh, and it just wasn't a good fit for me. Nothing against him. It was just,
Sure.
it just didn't work out.
Mhm.
And Gina was there as a friend.
Mhm.
And then, she and I just started talking about her philosophy, and I was like, that's what I need, a woman's set of eyes. And also just we're different. Women are different than men,
Yeah.
and if you have a good coach that knows that, great. And most do, but some do not. So,
Yeah. I think isn't Gina about the same age as you too?
yep, yep.
I don't know. I think that, I mean, somebody, with similar age, similar perspective and a competitor like her. And yeah, I think that that would make sense. That would be a good person to communicate with because you have similar experiences, similar background too.
Yeah. Well, and
Mhm.
I think a little advice for people that are choosing someone, it's okay to have questions. If
Mhm.
somebody will not answer your questions, then they're not a good coach.
Yeah.
Because, I'm a questioning type of person. I deal in healthcare every day.
Hmm.
I'm very educated. I know a lot of things, but you
Hmm.
put your trust into someone and you want to make sure that they have your back because you
Yeah.
can get so tunnel vision on things that you should or should not do.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, you don't see it. And if
Hmm.
someone's not watching you and making sure you're safe,
Hmm.
then that's a problem.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. I can see Gina being really attentive, and she just seems like super nice too. She seems like
Yeah,
somebody
she's
who
she's she's pretty much a badass lover. So
yeah, that's great. And and she's going to continue coaching, right? Even though she's retiring
well,
from.
she's still coaching me, and she's got some other folks that she's coaching.
Hmm.
And yeah, I hope she really becomes one of the premier coaches in the sport. I
Yeah,
think
I
she
think
has the ability to.
I could see her doing judging too, possibly.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, could you talk a little bit more about your job as a pharmaceutical rep and in oncology? And I was curious if your coworkers know about your bodybuilder career and do they support it?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. My business partner was telling me, so in oncology, you have to have appointments usually to get in to talk to the doctor and the staff. And it's not like I've been doing this 20 years, and other offices you can walk right in. Oncology is very different.
Hmm.
And a couple of the offices, they may not know your name as well as they did in other, specialties that I've worked in before, but they all know the bodybuilder. Oh, the bodybuilder girl. That's right.
Oh.
So they mention me as bodybuilder girl. And it's funny because now when I walk in, they're like, oh my God, you must be getting ready for a show. And I'm like, just the opposite. In fact, this is my biggest with
Uh-huh.
the most fat on my body. And when you see me and think I'm 20 pounds lighter when I'm actually in competition.
Yeah.
So, I'm super ripped, they will see that, but when they see me full, they think, oh, bigger must be ready. I'm like, no, it's just the opposite. So
Oh, I see.
you come
That
way down in size.
that
So
makes sense. Yeah. And that is kind of funny too, that it kind of helps you stand out, and maybe get better, more appointments too, because they do know you as the bodybuilding lady.
I get a lot of questions on diet and exercise for all the years I've been competing, for sure.
Really?
So yeah.
That's terrific. Yeah. um, I gotta say something real quick. One of the weirdest things I remember that was from a pharmaceutical rep was that my primary care physician, but it was a soap dispenser, but it was shaped like a nose. So you like pushed on the nose, and the soap came out of the
Yeah.
nostrils. So it
Yeah.
was hilarious. But I know there's a lot of those kind of promotional items sometimes with pharmaceutical sales.
Oh yeah. Well, I used to sell a very popular male drug. So and that was always fun because we had a lot of giveaways. And back when I first started, you could give a lot of those things, and now you're not allowed to give even a pen to someone. So it's
Oh,
such
wow.
a different world. But we used to have some really good, funny ties that would do certain things, like tie tricks and stuff like that. Like my partner, he would wear a magic trick and his tie would raise up. So
Oh,
yeah, if
that's
you know
pretty.
what I mean. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that with those type of drugs. Like, yeah. Um, and like we had discussed, I know you went to Air Force Academy, you're a veteran. How long were you in the military, and how did that experience kind of shape your bodybuilding journey, do you think?
So I was 4 years at the Air Force Academy, which doesn't count towards your service,
Yeah.
even though you're in the military, technically.
Yeah.
Well, I guess after 2 years, you're technically in. So then I spent 7 years active duty.
Okay.
And when I was overseas in Japan, I started training again a little heavier with weights.
Okay.
And back then, Air Force military competitions were pretty popular.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they didn't have one in the part of Japan I was in, but they did in Kadena. So there
Okay.
were, you'd see a lot of bodybuilders, and I could always hold my own with a lot of them. And that's where a couple would whisper in my ear, I was like, you should do that. And I was like,
Uh,
yeah, okay. But, I was married at the time, and
yeah.
my husband was, I think it was hard for him if I were getting bigger,
Uh-huh.
that would have been a challenge for him to
Okay,
accept
sure.
me. Yeah.
That's really cool, though. Did it kind of help that military discipline kind of help shape you, do you think, in terms of the discipline needed for bodybuilding too? What you say?
Yeah, I think just the sports training and everything I had prior helped me get into the military. I had no idea what the military was. I got recruited
Hmm.
to play volleyball there, so it was a different world. My sister had enlisted in the Navy a couple years prior to me going to the Air Force Academy, and she was really my first experience of knowing. I mean, I grew up down the street from the Air Force Academy and played sports up there, had no concept of what it was
Mm.
until the movie Top Gun came out, which even though it's Navy, that's really where I started going, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool. And then
Uh-huh.
I think there's a lot of personal discipline in sports
Yeah.
that translates into the military. And then, transitioning into bodybuilding, it's just the personal accountability that no one can make you successful. You have to do it yourself. Somebody
Yeah.
may teach you, but you can lie, cheat, do whatever you need to do, and just be like, oh, I don't know why your plan didn't work for me.
Uh-huh.
It's because you didn't have the discipline to do it.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I think that would be good. I could see that being a good base to help you prepare for the mindset of bodybuilding, because I think but bodybuilding is a big kind of mental game too, or mental test in a lot of ways. So,
Well, I'll tell you, the going to summer programming at the academy is nothing compared to real world deployments and everything like that. But when you're in college and you're looking, and you're in survival training or something, you definitely have an appreciation for suffering and being uncomfortable.
mm,
So, that's the military, why I think is just so fantastic. And
mm,
the sacrifices that people make and don't even think about it. And then everyone talks about how difficult it is to be a bodybuilder and suffer and diet. I'm like,
mm.
yeah, but we choose to suffer, and it's really not that bad of suffering.
Yeah,
It's like
sure.
you're sleeping in the dirt and, digging foxholes and living in tents and not showering and not eating and
Yeah.
eating, and worrying about all these different things. Yeah, I guess that gave me a different perspective on bodybuilding. I just appreciate the fact that I can choose to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good perspective. Thank you. Um, Now, my next few questions are just about competing, and I was just curious, when and where do you hope to compete again? And I hope maybe you'll come to Tampa to compete, because that's where I live. And I was wondering, and I do hope you make it back to the Olympia. But so, what's your plans though for this year?
So I was talking to Gina earlier. We've changed our plans 2 or 3 times just based on my schedule, and I'm
Mhm.
having a tonsillectomy Tuesday,
Oh,
and a couple other things. So I'm going to be out for 3 or 4 weeks for sure. So
okay,
that kind of slid the schedule a little bit. So we're going to get full into training in April and see what I can get to. I would
okay,
like that, maybe Chicago would be the earliest if
yeah,
I could do it, but I put my application in for Masters Olympia because I
oh,
think it's important, even though I've been to Olympia and I still feel competitive, you know, I don't think it really matters. I've seen some people labeling masters as, oh, these old people, these, coming out of retirement, nobody wants to see it. I saw a podcast like that and I was like, there's a lot of older women and men that do very well.
hmm,
And if you're going to have something to support masters, then I am a master and I would like to support it. And if I get selected, then I would be happy to do that, even though,
yeah,
it's in Romania, which I've competed in Romania before.
okay,
It's a good trip. And I would like to give back to the sport in that way and hopefully make it something where people want to go and see the masters compete because I think it's a whole nother level. Masters are some of the toughest people to compete against.
yeah, that's true. I
And
think
then
that's
Rising
terrific.
Phoenix, I hope to come back to Rising Phoenix. So
Oh, Rising Phoenix too. Yeah, I think that's terrific that you're thinking about Masters Olympia, and I agree with you. I think it's kind of long overdue to have it come back again. I think it's going to be great, and I hope that maybe they maybe I just maybe would move it to the USA. I can understand having it in Romania, but you might get more competitors too if it was in USA, or maybe they could alternate. But I don't know. I think it's great that you're thinking about it and that you applied for it.
yeah, we'll find out in April.
In April? Okay, great. Yeah, that's good sighting. Yeah, and it's coming in September, I think.
August.
August. Okay. Oh yeah, end of August. That's right. Yeah, that's great. Um, I was curious in terms of what feedback do you get from the judges in terms of where you need to improve your physique?
So I am very short-waisted. So, I'm pretty honest with myself and I always agree that the judges go, you need to bring your waist in. Well,
Mm,
there's only if your bone structure is such where your rib cage is almost on your hip bone because you're
mhm.
short-waisted, there's not a lot of room and everybody's like, "Oh, just cinch your waist. Wear a waist trainer." I'm like, "You would
No.
literally have to break my ribs." Or
Yeah.
take them out. So there's, so it's illusion. It's making sure that your back is nice and wide. your quad sweeps there. And a lot of it's about the way you pose, the suit you choose, all these different things. But, my feedback is usually, I think we can all be tighter sometimes. And, as someone that is older, making sure the skin stays tight and you're full enough, that's important. So, I've had some feedback where I thought I was full and they're like, you got to be fuller. And I was like, oh my God, I could have eaten a lot more, but it's so risky when you're, it's just really hard to know how to dial in properly and peak when you need to peak. But, I would say probably bring the waist in. That's my number one, and 100% agree, and then probably a little more leg.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. No, that
so.
And do you feel like I think your conditioning is really good? Do you get good feedback on conditioning from judges?
I do, but I can see where, I think that's where the age steps into it of conditioning where, I don't I don't know how some of these people get the insane conditioning because I feel like, wow, how much more can I take off without degrading the muscle
Yeah.
and being able to survive?
Uh,
That's important to me is survival.
yeah.
But
Survival is good.
I got to go to work. I've got to have a conversation with doctors and
Uh-huh.
nurses and talk about really important things. And you know, you got to balance that a little bit. So super hyper conditioning can be very dangerous, but I understand that everyone sees conditioning a little different.
Yeah. Sure. No, I think your conditioning is really good, and you look great on stage. Um, Now, I was curious, like, what is your favorite muscle group to train, and what's like your least favorite?
Oh, I would say I love shoulders. I've always loved training them and as a setter and a lot of handstands and a lot of different things where my shoulders respond pretty well. The
Uh-huh.
problem is I've got some partial labral tears and different things going on for the last few years where my shoulders have just come out of socket and to
Oh, really?
work through that. So I can't really train them the way I want to. So I have
Oh,
to stay within a certain weight range to where I don't injure myself.
yeah.
So, but I love to train them. And then I really enjoy training my legs and glutes. I just I didn't focus as much one year on my legs as I should have. And they really suffered as a result. And I'm still trying to get my legs back from 6 years of marathoning. I burned a
Oh,
lot of muscle.
really?
And so that disproportion, whereas when I was younger, I was very quad and glute dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then I lost a lot of my quads and glutes from running that distance because I
Oh, I
was
see.
a sprinter before and a jumper.
Really? I see. Yeah. Oh, so the marathoning just kind of burned away some of
Yeah.
your. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It took me down quite a bit.
Really? Wow.
I lost 20 pounds when I was marathoning.
Really? Wow.
Hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a lot. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
Well, the first time I lost it, and then my body's like, oh, I'm used to this. We're good. And I didn't lose it as much anymore. But yeah,
Really?
gapped really quick.
That's even like during the course of a day when you do a marathon, you can lose a lot of weight, can't you? I mean, just from
I think the training, I did my last marathon in 2011
uh-huh.
in Boston, and great race. But even losing that much weight, I was still a big runner,
Mm,
and
yeah.
that's just a lot of pounding. And I just did it because I was challenged to do it one day
Hmm.
by a Marine who was my boss, and I was Air Force, and I was like, challenge accepted. And
Okay.
then I qualified for Boston. I was like, okay, you got to run the Boston. That's
Uh-huh.
prestigious. And then once I
Yeah.
finished, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Let's do something
Okay.
else.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. You don't really want to do that now that you're bodybuilding, I would think. No.
No, because I'm heavier over the course of since 2013 to now, I've
Yeah.
put a good 15 pounds of muscle on, I bet, a
Wow.
little bit here and there, a couple pounds, 2 or 3 pounds a year. It starts
Oh,
to add up and stack. So that's good.
that's really good. Yeah. Um, I had a question here. Oh yeah. I was just curious. Now, do you find it hard to keep up with like the demands of social media and just being, having been bodybuilding for a while and have a lot of fans? It seems like you'd have a lot of DMs and a lot of comments. It just seems like it would be hard to keep up, but especially with work and home life too.
Yeah. Well, I've tried to do better with my social media, meaning be a little better at the way it looks because
Hmm.
I'm a creative person, but in terms of making videos and overlaying stuff, I'm just like, I don't want to learn too much.
Hmm.
But what I found is I like to get a message out with a visual also because obviously people are just going to look visually at you. Other people really care about what you say. So I try to find that blend and um, try to be a little more motivational and positive because that's, I think, who I am by nature. And,
Yeah.
and I don't play too deep into certain things, but I will say, in terms of when people comment and take the time to comment, I try to acknowledge everyone I can. And,
Mm. Great.
it's not overly time consuming. The issue is when somebody doesn't realize that if you're not following them, their message is not visible unless you go look for it.
Oh,
And then
I see.
you got to scroll and scroll and scroll. And, and I started feeling guilty because people are like, why are you not answering me? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
But, I try to acknowledge people because I think, I, it's a way to connect with people and be human.
Yeah.
And, if you're gross or something like that, I don't want any part of the gross people. But if you're truly a genuine person that just like, hey, happy Monday, I'd be like, yes, exactly. Have a
Uh,
great day. To me, I think that's important.
yeah, that's great. I think that's terrific. Yeah. I just was wondering, as long as you don't feel overwhelmed by it, because I have interviewed some folks who just feel like it's just too much. um,
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite thing in terms of if I had someone that could make the thing for me, but I
yeah,
could genuinely interact with some people, then that would be great. But I realize I think that's just who I am as a person
yeah,
is if somebody on the street asks me a question, I'm going to stop and talk to them. I mean, that's who I am.
that's great.
And, but I've also met some extremely rude people.
Yeah,
And social media is a way for people to be mean.
mm,
So I've been pretty fortunate. When I first started, I got a lot of mean comments or whatever, and I'm just like, so now
yeah,
if somebody says something nasty to me or mean, then I'm just like, thank you for your opinion, and I try to just put back some kindness on them. They don't
cool.
care, but I'm like, you're not going to bring me down, and I hate that other people see it and try to step in and defend, and I'm like, it's not worth it. It's
Yeah, okay.
literally that's them. It's not about you.
Uh-huh. Huh. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, a good philosophy, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the trolls just are kind of mean. Yeah, they drive me a little crazy. It's just not, yeah,
I just
not,
try to take off. If it's something really bad, I'll delete a comment, but I
yeah.
usually try to allow even negative comments on there
Mm,
because I'm like, if you feel compelled to say something mean to me, okay, I accept that, but I'm not going to hold on to it because,
mm.
it doesn't matter. But when people are truly kind, then I want them to know that they matter.
That's terrific. That's great. Yeah. Hmm. That's very cool. Um, I just had a few more questions for you. I was curious, do you like to show your muscles in public or do you prefer to keep them covered up?
So it's funny because this is the way I go out to dinner, totally skin tight tops. And I
Yeah.
usually wear tank tops, racerbacks,
Uh-huh.
dresses, things like that. And I don't think I own anything that would cover me up, to be honest, you know, and,
Uh-huh.
and I learned that probably growing up that I'm just more comfortable in certain types of clothing.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I don't have a problem showing it off. When I'm competition ready, then I get a lot of stares and a lot of people that want to say something, a lot of naysayers, a lot of, and I'm like, whatever. I'm just out here living my life. I
Yeah.
wear what I'm comfortable in. It's not about making someone else comfortable.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. Yeah, that's good way of looking at it. Very cool. Yeah, I bet when you're competition ready, you get some stares maybe, and maybe people being a little rude, you know.
Well, I usually get the, oh my God, I would love to, I'd love to be fit, but I don't want to look like you. And I'd be like, that's kind of hard to do
Yeah.
unless you're purposely trying and you have genetics and years to do it. So,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So now, in terms of if you were in a leadership position like with NPC or IFBB, what would you do to improve the sport of bodybuilding, and what would you do to make the sport better?
that's really hard, I think, because I think that we do a really good job as an organization getting the word out, letting people know about competitions and things like that. But I
Hmm.
think safety is really important. And I don't think anybody's out there to hurt anyone
Hmm.
intentionally, but I think what's getting out of control are these people that are being preyed upon as competitors, taking money, unqualified trainers, unqualified posing coaches. If you do one competition, that doesn't make you a professional coach. It doesn't make you someone capable of keeping someone safe on stage.
Yeah.
So, there's not a good way to police that. I think we have to police each other and
Hmm.
police and get the word out if somebody's harming others or misleading, taking money, but maybe
Hmm.
just a professional certification to be a prep coach or, something like that would be nice. It would
Yeah.
be really hard to regulate, but
Yeah.
that would be something I don't even know how to tackle it. I just kind of was thinking about that of, you know, how do you make sure people have a positive experience? Because the positive experience promotes the sport.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
what I would like to see is, maybe we talked earlier about the fact that mainstream media doesn't look at bodybuilding. They see, as a sport to put on TV, like cornhole or, tag or something like that. But everyone seems to have an opinion about, what we do to be stage ready or how unsafe it is. And I'm just like, that's not everybody. There's
Hmm.
always in any sport and I can walk into any gym and point out people that have a much more dangerous lifestyle than a bodybuilder.
Hmm.
But, I think we just focus on the wrong things.
Hmm.
I would say conditioning is super important, but not over conditioning. What I would like to see is the distinctions of the categories. And I think, everyone has opinion. Texas, we've got a very strong bodybuilding community and
Hmm.
very fair judging, very qualified judges and staff, and go through a lot of training and just letting people know that, this is not a popularity contest. This is literally criteria that is followed, and then just keep promoting this is the criteria. This is the criteria. You don't have to be freakishly conditioned, but it's the other people outside, the naysayers or the people wanting to see something, an oddity or a freak or something like that, that really makes the sport dangerous. And I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think I don't think it's the federation. I think it's the other people trying to push their desires on it.
I understand. Yeah.
Making sure we stick to criteria, safety, and if you listen to any of the top people in the sport, they are saying we need to keep people safe.
Yeah, I think safety is really important. And whenever I hear about a death in bodybuilding, that's just really distressing, and it's kind of sad, to think about. Um, of course, Washington Post has picked up on it, and it's kind of given a little bit of outside attention, and I think they're gunning for like a Pulitzer Prize with that. You know, maybe I don't know, maybe congressional action or something. They're really pushing hard on it, but um, I think that the prying eyes of the Post has affected bodybuilding world in a lot of ways in the last few months. But then raising awareness of the deaths and the safety, I think that's kind of a good thing because it's just not worth dying over a sport.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too comes down to the people. As a competitor, I have a responsibility for my health.
Mhm.
And, I think it needs to be known that you don't make your millions being a bodybuilder.
Yeah,
There's a handful of people that can do this for a living, a
yeah,
handful.
that's true.
And but I walk in the gym and 50 kids, I call them kids, are in their influencers and things hooked up and filming, and they all think they're getting rich or they're getting sponsors or whatever. So it's literally the reality check needs to set in that, this is a sport, this is, a hobby, this is however you want to term it, and you
Yeah.
have to police yourself and go, you have to be able to support yourself financially to do it. Don't
Hmm.
rely on someone else to pay your bills,
Yeah.
and take that responsibility on, and then hire someone or do it yourself with informed decisions. But, safety should be your priority.
Yeah, I agree. That's really good advice. Yeah. I just have one more question for you. I was curious, do you find it tough kind of mentally with body image, when you go from, competition leanness to back to like bulking phase? And because I think that, many women bodybuilders struggle with this, and many of the women I've talked with on this podcast, I mentioned that. But how do you do with that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely body dysmorphia in the sense of you get so lean
Hmm.
and you get attention for it, you get praised for it and such.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm human. when I look at extra fat on my body or something that I go, oh. So I just put it in a perspective of competition, off season. What
Yeah.
I find to not fit my lifestyle or what I want to look like is when somebody asks, are you in bulk phase? Are you in this phase? And I'm like, no, I'm literally not doing 2 hours of cardio. So I'm going to put some fat back on,
Mhm.
and I'm
Yeah.
not strict in my diet. I'm eating a healthy diet, but it's
Mhm.
not competition diet. So I'm naturally going to put some weight on.
Mhm.
So you have to learn to be positive with yourself and, reinforce the fact that compared to society, you are 100% in shape. When
Yeah.
you're stage ready, you are completely different. That
Yeah.
is
It's
that is
true.
not normal.
Mhm.
This is normal. So
Mhm.
if you just shift your mindset to, yeah, it's hard to see a little more fluff and everything like that, but is it, that's your normal fluff,
Yeah.
that's your in shape look.
Uh-huh.
So I would challenge more that if you're a professional bodybuilder, stay professional year round because you're a professional athlete. There's you refeed your body, you refeed your soul, your, you know, mental state, everything like that, your spirit. But, don't just show somebody that I can be extremely fit and then extremely unfit, because I don't think that's good for the sport or good for the person. And I don't know who is saying that, but or who you're alluding to, but I think if we all just take perspective of we all look, good. We're beautiful people. Look at the inside of us, not just the outside, and kind
Mhm.
of cut yourself a little slack, then it makes it a little easier.
That's great. I like that. Yeah. You think it's tougher because society doesn't really understand, the bodybuilding community understands, but not the wider society about the phases you go through. So there's probably a lot of explaining you have to do. You probably get tired of explaining it to people.
Well, yeah, it's like what I said when somebody thinks I'm gigantic and ready for stage is when I'm off season. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you wouldn't want to see me in that outfit right now because it would look terrible on stage. But it's it's perspective to someone else. They think, oh, you're very fit and very muscular. And you're like, okay, I look like a whale. Well, no, not really. I mean,
Yeah.
you're just not going to look good on stage.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I should have asked you that I neglected to?
No, I think you covered it. I mean, I'd say thank you for getting the word out there and giving people positive experience on your podcast and asking, I think, very relevant questions and showing the human side of, we're not just in there about ourselves and about our bodies. We have lives and, and we want to make a positive impact on society and the sport and let other people know that, it's okay to do this. Not everyone's going to like it, but not everybody likes, running marathons or, just sitting on the couch all day. So everybody's got a different perspective of what makes them happy. So I would say, continue what you're doing and invite a lot of people here. And I hope they all accept the invitation.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, part of my mission is to kind of humanize the bodybuilders, because I've just been a fan for a long time and really respect all the hard work. And personally, I don't think I could do it. I'd kind of live vicariously through y'all because I'm a little too lazy maybe to to do it myself.
Different priority. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just kind of spread the word about it, but I don't.
Well, see,
Yeah,
I wouldn't want any part of knowing how to do a Skype call and record something. I'd be like, oh, I'm out. I can't do it. I know I could take 5 minutes and learn something, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I understand. No, yeah, no. This podcast has been great, and I really appreciate you coming on. And it's been an honor having you on as a guest. I was wondering, could you do a quick flex for me?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see anything right now.
I can definitely see biceps there, definitely, and shoulders
And
too.
a little.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a little tricep action.
They're getting there. Actually, I'll be taking my 2 or 3 weeks off, so hopefully I won't lose too much leg.
Oh, so you won't be training at all during that time?
No, I'm gonna have to take for sure 2 weeks off, and then I'll come back slowly. But yeah,
That's cool.
I
Yeah.
guess the tonsillectomy is pretty tough on old people. So
Oh
I
no.
didn't realize. Because you're gonna be in a lot of pain.
Oh no, that doesn't sound like much fun.
No, it's okay.
I'm glad I caught you before you got that done too. So
Yeah.
and I'm going to share your Instagram page and Gina's as well at the bottom in the comment section when we post the YouTube. And I'll get this posted relatively soon. But thanks again, Leah. It's really nice meeting you, and appreciate your time here.
Pleasure to meet you, and thank you again.
Thank you.